Okay, folks, so welcome to the next lecture module in the instrumentation course for spectroscopy. And in this lecture module, we are going to turn to another instrument other than the ultraviolet visible spectrophotometer, because I think that you've had enough of UV vis over the past couple of weeks. So in this lecture module, we're going to focus on what we call the infrared spectrophotometer, or IR for short. Now, the infrared, well, if I wanted to spell it out, it will kind of give me a clue of where we're going to be working. Infrared spectrophotometer or spectrometer. So in the previous video, we talked about the electromagnetic spectrum. And we said in the electromagnetic spectrum, we have an area here called visible light. And this is where my Roy G. Biv comes from. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. And then above this, if violet is here, above this region, we have what we call ultraviolet, right? And this is where my sun rays come from that give me a sunburn basically in the summer, or where the energy of the tanning bed comes from. I see this in the ultraviolet region. So these were very high powerful, or higher in energy than the visible light. So here I'm going to put their very high energy. Okay, so when we ran things on a UV vis, we played off of the ultraviolet region and we played off of the visible region. And the visible region wasn't as high powerful as far as energy goes. If something was a colored solution, this is typically where I ran that. But in the other videos, we said there's other things out here, right? So above ultraviolet, there's other things out here that we can talk about. And then below the red, there's other things on this electromagnetic spectrum that we can talk about as well. And that's where we get the different instrumentation. Each piece of equipment that we will talk about this semester will focus on different parts of the electromagnetic spectrum. So again, if you want to know what this thing is called, electromagnetic spectrum. And this includes everything, all light, not just visible light, but all wavelengths that we know. Okay, so for infrared, we see this infra, right? Infrared. And this basically means below. So infrared translates to below the red. So if this is my Roy G. Biv and R stands for red, and this is the color that I see, then the infrared region is going to be below that red color. So right in here is where we're going to be working. This is my infrared. So if my ultraviolet has very high energy compared to my visible, then my visible has higher energy than infrared does. And because of that, we're going to say that infrared has very low energy output. It's not very harmful to you. Infrared actually has been proven to do quite a few things that are good for you. So now, what we see instead of tanning beds are infrared or red light beds. And you might have seen a red light bed in some type of gym. Here, maybe Planet Fitness. And the red light bed does a couple of good things. Number one, it promotes the production of collagen. That means if you're starting to get saggy, if you're starting to get wrinkly, If you're starting to get the cottage cheese butt that a lot of people will make fun of according to themselves, then infrared light technology can actually produce the collagen that your body needs to basically plump you up. So it fills in all of those wrinkles and all of those cottage cheese divots that you might start beginning to get formed, depending on how old you are. Number two, it helps improve circulation. So, what they're finding out is that your blood flow is actually much better when it concerns red light therapy. So, it seems like your body has a positive response to it, and your circulatory system begins to behave in a manner that's almost like they're putting you on medication. Number three, it also is proven to help your immune system. So many people that undergo red light therapy, they start to see their body fight off infections much better and much quicker than those who are not on infrared light therapy. So there's a number of different studies that are out there that's promoting the good things about infrared technology, or what we call red light technology, versus the horrible, bad ultraviolet system that you might know as a tanning bed. So this instrument is going to play off of that infrared technology. Now, in the very first point of the PowerPoint slide, you're going to see basically an image that looks like this down below. So if you're familiar, or if you've looked up infrared light before, you probably will see what we call thermal imaging, and this is very similar to infrared imaging. If you've watched the movie called The Predator sees things off of infrared light. How much heat is given off basically by someone? Thermal energy, infrared energy, and so forth. So this is the picture that we're beginning to see. And this is kind of how the infrared works as well. So once again, we're working in a very low energy field below the red of the visible, and visible light will pack more of a punch than infrared light will. But this is what the machine works off of, and that's why we have an infrared spectrophotometer or spectrometer. It plays off of that area of the spectrum. All right, so in the upcoming videos, we're going to go through the same that we did before with UV. We're going to talk about the theory of infrared. We're then going to move on and we're going to talk about the parts and pieces of the infrared spectrometer. And then we're going to move on and talk about data analysis of the spectrophotometer. So we're breaking it down into three parts, and those three parts are very important, just like they were before. So hang tight. You're going to go through a series of different videos on infrared. And the problem with this lecture is not the instrument. The problem will be interpreting a infrared spectrum. That's going to be the key to making it through this lecture and getting a good grade on this module. So bear with us, hunker down, get some caffeine, and I'll see you back in a few.